Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nur Azwana binti Sabri and together with me is Sumaya binti Anhal. We are from Group 3, representing our team members Nur Adlin Hidayah binti Alias, Nur Nadira binti Zulkifli and Siti Nadia binti Mat Hussein. Today, we will be presenting our ethical decision-making project on HEWLETT-PACKARD, or known as HP. So basically, our presentation is organized into three main phases. The first one is case selection and background analysis. The second one is ethical decision-making analysis. And the third one is ethical recommendations and solutions. We will explain each phase clearly and later proceed to discuss them in deeper detail throughout the presentation. With that, let us begin. For this project, we choose HEWLETT-PACKARD or HP, which includes HP Incorporation and HEWLETT-PACKARD Enterprise. HP has been widely discussed and criticized for its alleged involvement in supporting the Israeli occupation in Palestine. For more than 10 years, HP has faced international boycotts and human rights campaigns, especially from the BDS movement. Many reports claim that HP's technology has been used in systems linked to the oppression of Palestinians. Because these allegations are serious and well documented, HP is a relevant and important company to analyze in an ethical context. HP operates in the global technology industry. After restructuring in 2015, HP Incorporation focused on consumer products like laptops and printers, while HPE provides enterprise solutions such as servers, cloud systems, and data storage for governments and corporations. This makes HP a major player in digital infrastructure around the world. In terms of its alleged involvement in Gaza, HP is reported to have supplied technology for Israel's biometric ID system and population registry, which controls Palestinian movement at checkpoints. Some reports also state that HP provides IT services to Israeli ministries and security agencies, and that its systems were used in prisons where Palestinian detainees are held. HP has denied intentional political involvement, but the consistency of external reports raise ethical concerns that need to be examined. Basically, there are several key stakeholders affected by this issue. These include HP's shareholders and investors, its board of directors, and government clients such as Israeli ministries. The most affected group, however, is the Palestinian community living under occupation, as HP's technology is alleged to contribute to surveillance and restricted mobility. Civil society groups, human rights organizations, student movements, consumers, and even HP's own employees are also part of the wider network of stakeholders connected to this controversy. Entering the last part for the first phase, this case is ethically significant because it highlights how a company's products can influence human rights, corporate integrity, and society, especially in conflict-affected regions. If HP's technologies are used in civilian population monitoring or detention system, the company may be indirectly contributing to practices linked to human rights violations. This raised serious concerns about the ethical boundaries of corporate involvement, showing how the pursuit of profit can come into tension with moral responsibility. It also demonstrates how digital infrastructure, often seen as natural, can become a tool that enables broader systems of control and discrimination. Such involvement can erode public trust, damage the company's reputation, and lead to boycotts or divestment from socially responsible consumers and investors. Ultimately, this case illustrates how corporate actions carry significant societal consequences, shaping public perception of justice, accountability, and ethical business conduct. Now that we understood the background of HP's involvement and why the case is ethically significant, we will move into phase 2 of our analysis, where in this case, we focus on how ethical decisions were made within the company. The ethical dilemma faced by HP centered on conflict between technological neutrality and moral responsibility. Although HP Incorporation and HPE supplied biometric systems, IT infrastructure, and data management services to Israeli government agencies, these technologies were reportedly used in checkpoints, surveillance systems, and detention process, including those involving minors in the occupied Palestinian territories. HP was therefore placed in a difficult position whether to continue profitable contracts with a state actor or to withdraw from engagement that risks indirect involvement in human rights violations. This dilemma raises a fundamental question: can a company maintain ethical integrity if its products contribute to systems of control and discrimination? The answer is the key decision in this situation were likely made by HP's board of directors, senior executives, and managers overseeing government partnerships. These individuals hold fiduciary duties to shareholders, yet they also carry ethical obligation to the public. Since there is no evidence of internal ethical reviews or human rights impact assessments, it appears that the decision were driven more by strategic and financial considerations rather than moral judgment. Last but not least, HP has publicly claimed that it remains natural, arguing that its technologies are general purpose products not intended to facilitate human rights abuses. However, this claim becomes difficult to accept when compared with findings from civil society organizations such as AFSC and Who Profits, which document HP's involvement in biometric systems used at Israeli checkpoints and IT infrastructure deployed inside Israeli prisons. HP's decision-making process lacked transparency, as shown by the absence of publicly available human rights impact assessments, ethical audits, or meaningful engagement with affected communities. Responsible corporate behavior requires more than merely complying with legal standards. It demands proactive steps to prevent harm. HP's continued denial and limited public explanation despite ongoing allegations demonstrate weaknesses in accountability and ultimately weaken the company's ethical credibility.
Now I will explain the implication of HP's decision. First, who was affected? HP's provision of technology and infrastructure to Israeli government agency had far-reaching effects on a diverse set of stakeholders. Palestinian communities were directly impacted as HP's technology allegedly facilitated the monitoring of movements, restricted areas to essential areas, and supported detention processes, including for minors. These interventions affected not only physical freedom but also social, economic, and psychological well-being. Shareholders and investors face reputational and financial risks, especially those concerned with ethical, social, and governance compliance. Civil society organizations, human rights groups, and global advocacy networks become active stakeholders, mobilizing campaigns, reports, and petitions demanding corporate accountability and ethical responsibility. And additionally, employees and consumers worldwide were indirectly affected as they encountered ethical dilemmas regarding their association with or support for a company implicated in human rights controversies. The requirement of honesty was weakened because the company publicly claimed neutrality and compliance with international standards, yet its technology, including the biometric bezel system used at Israeli military checkpoints, was reported to support practices that restricted Palestinian mobility. The principle of justice was also undermined. By supplying biometric identification system and IT infrastructure to Israeli government, HP became connected to systems that contributed to unequal treatment and increased surveillance of Palestinian communities. HP similarly fell short in accountability. The company did not conduct adequate assessment of how its technology were being used in a conflict environment, nor did it implement safeguards to prevent misuse. This lack of oversight reflects a failure to take responsibility for the broader social effects for its operations. The two ethical theories to evaluate companies' decisions are utilitarianism and deontology. From a utilitarian perspective, HP's decisions are ethically troubling because the fault inflicted on Palestinian communities far outweighed any financial and operational gains. The company's technology reportedly facilitated surveillance, restricted movement, and supported detention processes, creating significant physical, social, and psychological suffering. Beyond the immediate impact of affected individuals, the decision also had wider consequences, such as public criticism, boycotts, and reputational damage, which affected shareholders, investors, and global consumers. From a deontological perspective, HP neglected its fundamental moral duties by providing technology that indirectly contributed to human rights violation. Deontology emphasizes the importance of adhering to moral rules and ethical obligations regardless of outcomes. And in this case, the company failed to uphold duties such as preventing harm, ensuring justice, and maintaining honesty in its operation. By prioritizing contractual and financial interests over ethical responsibilities, HP acted in a way that is inconsistent with universal moral principles, demonstrating a lack of commitment to accountability and ethical integrity in decision-making. HP could have acted more ethically by following Islamic principles, which is amanah, adil, ihsan, tawheed, and maslahah. Amanah means responsibility. HP should treat its technology as a trust for society. For example, before providing biometric system like the bezel system at checkpoints, HP could have considered how it affects Palestinian communities, and they could have refused projects that restrict movement or violate rights and set clear ethical guidelines for employees and partners to maintain trust. The second one is adil or justice. Adil is about fairness for everyone. HP could have conducted a social impact assessment before signing contracts. For instance, its IT system used by the Israel Prison Service increased surveillance. By reviewing and modifying such projects, HP could prevent harm and support affected communities like providing access to education or technology for Palestinian youth. And the third one is ihsan or excellence. Ihsan encourages proactive moral conduct. HP could train employees in ethical decision-making, create channels to report misuse of technology, and regularly review contracts to prevent harm before it happens. The fourth is Tauhid. Tauhid means aligning business goals with moral and ethical values. HP should ensure that profit and social responsibility go hand in hand. When considering government contracts, they should weigh social and human impact, not just financial gain, ensuring their work serve a positive purpose. And the last one is Maslahah. Maslahah focuses on societal welfare, where HP should prioritize technologies that benefit communities. This includes consulting stakeholders, reporting publicly on system use, and making sure biometric technology is not used for unfairly restrict movement or target groups. In summary, if HP had followed these principles, its actions could have been more ethical, just, and beneficial to society. In Surah An-Nahl, verse 19, it says that indeed Allah commands justice, grace, as well as generosity to close relatives. He forbids indecency, wickedness, and aggression. He instructs you, so perhaps you will be mindful. Why this verse fits? The verse in Surah An-Nahl fits perfectly because it brings together all the main values of Islamic ethics. Allah commands justice, excellence, and care for others, while forbidding oppression and wrongdoing. This reflects the principle of Adil, Ihsan, Amanah, Tawheed, and Maslahah. In the case of HP, the verse reminds us that business decisions must not only aim for profit, but also protect human dignity, prevent harm, and serve the wider good of society. For the first recommendation, we suggest that HP should stop and assess first before signing any contract, especially with governments in conflict areas. This means HP needs to check how their technology will be used by conducting a proper human rights impact assessment. If the assessment shows that the technology could be misused to harm communities or restrict movement, then HP should refuse the contract or request changes. This helps prevent HP from being indirectly involved in human rights violations. The second recommendation is for HP to be more honest and transparent about its involvement in high-risk regions. Instead of avoiding questions, HP should publish an annual transparency report that clearly explains the high-risk contracts they take, what technology they provide, and whether independent audits found any misuse. And they should also engage with affected communities and human rights organizations. This builds trust and shows accountability. The last recommendation is for HP to build stronger ethical guidelines within the company. HP should make ethics part of its internal culture by providing mandatory ethics and human rights training for their employees, especially those dealing with government clients. They should also have a clear red line policy that allows employees to raise concern or even stop a project if there is evidence of misuse. And this ensures that HP's decisions are made responsibly and ethically. The first solution is for HP to implement strict ethical use audits. This means that even after their technology is delivered, HP must continue monitoring how it is being used. Government clients, companies, and partners should be required to submit regular reports proving that they are following HP's ethical usage guidelines. And HP should also conduct on-site inspections, check system access logs, and hire independent auditors to make sure that the technology is not being used for harmful purposes like surveillance, population control, or detention. If there are any red flags, for example unusual data patterns or usage in restricted areas, HP should have the authority to suspend services, change system functions, or even terminate the contract. The second solution is for HP to create a safe and confidential whistleblower program. This gives employees a secure way to report unethical actions or contract misuse without fear of punishment. The system should include clear reporting guidelines, third-party handling of complaints, encrypted communication, and strong non-retaliation policies. This encourages employees to speak up early when they notice something wrong. The third solution is for HP to develop a conflict zone exit strategy. This policy guides the company on when and how to withdraw from high-risk regions. If evidence appears showing that HP's technology is being misused, an ethics committee should immediately review the situation. If the risks are too high, HP must disengage and publicly announce its withdrawal. This ensures transparency and prevents the company from being tied to harmful practices or oppressive systems in the long term. So, to conclude, our case study shows that HP's involvement in conflict areas raises serious ethical concerns, especially relating to justice, human rights, and corporate responsibility. From what we have analyzed, HP failed to uphold the key moral principles like preventing harm and acting responsibly. That's why the recommendations we suggested earlier, such as doing ethical audits, protecting whistleblowers, and having a proper conflict zone exit plan, are really important to make sure HP doesn't repeat the same mistakes. And overall, this case reminds us that businesses shouldn't prioritize profit over people. If a company wants to maintain integrity, it has to put ethics first, especially when operating in high-risk areas. That's all from us. Thank you.